I never thought my childhood would feel like a distant nightmare, a faded photograph that captured only the hollow echoes of my family's laughter. Growing up in the Carter household, I was the black sheep, forever overshadowed by my brother Ryan, the golden child. He basked in their adoration, while I was relegated to the sidelines, my achievements in social work dismissed as mere hobbies. Family dinners were a grand spectacle. My parents, Thomas and Linda, lavished praise on Ryan for his latest business triumphs, while I pushed my food around my plate, desperately trying to find my voice. "You should take notes from your brother, Emily," my father would say, disappointment dripping from his words. I felt invisible, suffocated by their expectations, longing for just a sliver of recognition. That's when I realized I was more than just the family's disappointment. I poured my soul into helping others, volunteering at shelters and organizing food drives, hoping my parents would one day see the value in my choices. For the first time, I understood that my passion was both my refuge and my rebellion. Yet, the more I fought for their approval, the more I felt the weight of their manipulation, their need for control suffocating me. With every family gathering, my resentment simmered, a quiet storm brewing beneath my skin. I watched Ryan morph into a master manipulator, his charm masking his insecurities while exploiting my support. I was his crutch, always lifting him up, yet my own aspirations lay neglected, crushed under the weight of familial obligation. In the shadows of those memories, I felt the bitter sting of betrayal creeping in. I was done being the overlooked daughter, the invisible sibling. The time was coming when I would confront the brutal reality of our family's dysfunction and discover the hidden wealth that awaited me, a wealth not just of money, but of self-worth and independence. As the echoes of laughter faded, I knew I was ready to reclaim my narrative, no matter the cost. I stepped into the Carter household, a place that felt more like a stage set than a home. The air was thick with the smell of my mother's overcooked roast, mingling with the tension that always seemed to bubble just beneath the surface. Family gatherings were less about love and more about maintaining appearances. With every smile plastered across my parents' faces, I could see the cracks forming, the facade of perfection threatening to crumble. "Emily, have you thought more about joining the family business?" my mother asked, her tone dripping with false sweetness. I could feel the eyes of my family on me, the weight of their expectations pressing down like a heavy blanket. "You could really help us expand. I mean, you wouldn't want to waste your potential, would you?" I bit my tongue, fighting the urge to scream. I had spent years carving my own path, dedicating myself to social work, yet it was as if my choices were invisible to them. Instead, I was seen as a project, something to be fixed, molded, and reshaped to fit their vision. "I'm happy with what I'm doing," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was seething. Then there was Ryan, casually leaning against the kitchen counter, his charm radiating like a warm glow. "You know, Em, if you helped me out a bit financially, I could really take my business to the next level," he said, flashing that disarming smile that had always worked on our parents. It made my stomach churn. I had always been his safety net, the one he turned to when he needed a quick fix. "You're doing well, right? Come on, you know I'd do the same for you," he added, his entitlement wrapped in the guise of brotherly love. My heart raced as I replayed the countless times he had leaned on me, the countless times I had sacrificed my own needs for his. I could hear my parents' whispers echoing in my mind, their dismissive attitudes toward my passion and their eagerness to exploit my generosity. This was the family I had been trying to impress, the family that saw me only as a tool to fuel their ambitions. "Why is it always about you?" I finally snapped, the words spilling out before I could stop them. The room fell silent, the air crackling with tension. My mother's eyes widened, shock mingling with disapproval. Ryan straightened up, his smile faltering for the first time. "I thought we were family," I continued, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm not just here to prop you up." That's when I realized the depth of their manipulation, how they twisted love into a weapon of emotional control. My parents' obsession with status blinded them to my worth, while Ryan's charm masked his insecurities and entitlement. They were all holding me hostage, shackled by their expectations and my own misplaced loyalty. As the evening wore on, I felt my frustration morph into something darker, something that whispered of rebellion. I was done being the support system for a family that didn't appreciate me. I watched as Ryan laughed with our parents, their bond forged in a shared delusion that I was the problem, not the solution. In that moment, I felt a flicker of clarity ignite within me, a determination to break free from this toxic cycle. I had buried my ambitions for far too long, and now I could feel the walls closing in. It was time to confront the truth about my family, to expose the lies that had kept me in the shadows. My resentment was bubbling to the surface, and I knew that the coming confrontation would shatter the illusion they had built, forcing me to confront not just my family but myself as well. The stakes were rising, and I was ready for the fight. The quiet storm within me was about to unleash, and I was determined to reclaim my power, no matter the cost. The air was electric with excitement as I entered Ryan's engagement party, a lavish affair that our parents had meticulously planned to showcase their perfect family. The glittering decorations and the clinking of champagne glasses felt surreal, like a scene from a movie. But beneath the surface, I could feel the tension coiling tighter, ready to snap at any moment. As I navigated through the crowd, I forced a smile, exchanging pleasantries with family friends who barely knew me. My parents floated around, beaming with pride, while Ryan basked in the attention, surrounded by his friends and Sarah, his cunning fiancée. She was the perfect complement to his charm, beautiful, ambitious, and always eager to reinforce the family narrative that I was the outsider. I watched as Ryan regaled our guests with stories of his successes, each tale more embellished than the last. My stomach churned at the sight of him soaking up the adoration, like a thirsty plant in the sun. I had barely been acknowledged, my accomplishments overshadowed by his constant need for validation. I never thought I would feel so small in a place that was supposed to be a celebration of family. Then, just as I was trying to find a moment of solace, my mother called for everyone's attention. "We'd like to say a few words about the happy couple," she announced, her voice ringing out across the room. My heart sank as she gestured for Ryan and Sarah to step forward, a spotlight that should have been shared but was instead focused solely on them. As they took center stage, I felt the familiar pang of resentment. "Ryan has always been such a remarkable son," my father chimed in, his tone overflowing with pride. "He's the embodiment of success and ambition, and we couldn't be happier for him." The room erupted in applause, but I felt like I was suffocating. That's when I realized this moment wasn't just about Ryan's engagement, it was a celebration of everything I had rejected, a painful reminder of the life I had chosen to step away from. Unable to hold back any longer, I stepped forward, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "Can we take a moment to acknowledge what family really means?" I said, my voice steady but trembling with emotion. "It's not just about status or money, it's about support, love, and understanding. I've dedicated my life to helping others, yet I feel invisible in my own family." Gasps rippled through the crowd, and for a moment, time froze. My parents' faces paled as they exchanged glances, disbelief etched across their features. Ryan's confident facade cracked, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "Emily, not now," he snapped, his voice a harsh whisper that carried through the stunned silence. But I pressed on, fueled by years of pent-up frustration. "For years, I've been your safety net, your emotional crutch. I've sacrificed my dreams to support you, and yet here I stand, ridiculed and belittled. This is not a family, this is a facade." My heart raced as I saw the shock in the eyes of our guests, the disbelief mingling with intrigue. Then, like a dam breaking, my parents erupted. "How dare you?" my mother shrieked, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. "You're making a scene." My father's face flushed with anger, his disappointment palpable. "You've embarrassed us in front of our friends." I felt the heat of humiliation wash over me, but beneath it simmered a new strength, a raging fire ignited by their scorn. "I've been embarrassed my whole life by your expectations, your need for control. You've manipulated me into thinking I'm not enough, but I am done playing your game." The room fell silent, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a leaden cloud. Ryan's smirk had vanished, replaced by a look of shock and betrayal. Sarah's eyes darted between us, her ambition momentarily eclipsed by the chaos unraveling before her. In that moment, I felt a sense of liberation, a clarity that cut through the fog of anger and hurt. I was no longer the overlooked daughter. I was reclaiming my narrative, shedding the weight of their expectations like a snake shedding its skin. The confrontation had shattered the illusion of our family, revealing the raw, unvarnished truth hidden beneath the surface. As the tension crackled in the air, I knew that everything was about to change. I had stepped into the fire, and there was no turning back. The stage was set for my rebellion, and I was ready to embrace the chaos that lay ahead. The aftermath of the engagement party felt like a surreal dream, a whirlwind of shame and exhilaration spinning in my head. I had ripped the mask off my family, exposing the intricate web of manipulation and entitlement that had kept me bound for so long. But as I navigated the days that followed, the initial rush of defiance began to wane, replaced by a gnawing sense of dread. I could feel the strain in my family's dynamics, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. My parents were furious, their attempts to maintain control over the narrative intensified. Ryan, on the other hand, wore a mask of hurt, feigning innocence while plotting his retaliation. I had shattered the delicate facade, and now they were scrambling to reassert their dominance. It was during one of these tense family dinners that the truth began to unravel. I sat at the table, my stomach churning with anxiety as I listened to my parents discuss finances in hushed tones. "We need to keep her in line," my mother whispered, her voice low but sharp. "She's too unpredictable now. If she figures out what we've done," I thought, my heart racing. I had always suspected my parents were hiding things from me, but I had never imagined it would be something so insidious. I leaned in, straining to catch every word, my pulse pounding in my ears. "The trust fund is meant for Ryan's business, not for her to squander on social work. She's too naive to realize the stakes," my father replied, his tone laced with contempt. "We've been using her inheritance to prop him up, and we can't let her disrupt that." A cold wave of realization washed over me, freezing me in place. They had been siphoning money from my accounts, using my hard-earned inheritance to fund Ryan's lifestyle and business ventures without my consent. The very foundation of my family's love was built on deceit and exploitation. I felt the heat rise in my chest, a mixture of shock and fury igniting a fire within me. How could they? I thought, my mind racing. All those years of sacrificing my own happiness, believing I was helping my family, had been a lie. I was merely a pawn in their game, a source of sustenance for their insatiable greed. That night, I lay in bed, replaying their conversation over and over, grappling with the reality of my situation. My heart ached with betrayal, but underneath that pain was a burgeoning sense of clarity. I was tired of being the family's emotional punching bag, tired of being manipulated into silence. It was time to reclaim what was rightfully mine. The following day, I met with Daniel Rhodes, the family friend and financial advisor who had always been a mentor to me. As I sat across from him in his office, I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on my shoulders. "Daniel," I began, my voice steady but laced with urgency, "I need your help to find out exactly what my parents have been doing with my trust fund." His brow furrowed, concern etching his features. "Emily, are you sure you want to dig into this? It could get messy," he warned gently. "I have to know the truth," I replied, my gaze unwavering. "I can't let them control me any longer. I deserve to understand what they've done." Daniel nodded, his expression shifting to one of determination. "All right, let's uncover the details together. You deserve to reclaim your autonomy, and I'll help you every step of the way." As we delved into the financial records, the layers of deceit unfolded, revealing a pattern of siphoning funds that had been happening for years. I felt a mix of rage and empowerment as I discovered the extent of their manipulation. Each document we uncovered was a testament to their betrayal, a reminder of the sacrifices I had made for a family that didn't value me. With each piece of evidence, I felt my resolve strengthening. This was not just about money, it was about reclaiming my identity, my worth. I had spent years in the shadows, but now I was stepping into the light, ready to confront my family and take back what was rightfully mine. The fire of determination burned brightly within me as I prepared to confront my parents with the truth. They would no longer be able to use my trust fund to manipulate me or Ryan. I was done being their pawn. The time for action had come. I would reclaim my power, and I would do it on my own terms. The moment had arrived, and I felt a mix of dread and adrenaline coursing through my veins. Armed with the truth about my trust fund, I stood outside the Carter home, the familiar facade now feeling like a prison. I was determined to confront my parents and Ryan, to expose their deceit and reclaim my independence. As I stepped inside, the usual aroma of my mother's cooking filled the air, but it felt suffocating. My parents were seated at the dining table, discussing some mundane family matter, their laughter ringing hollow. I cleared my throat, the sound cutting through the chatter like a knife. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling in my mind. My father looked up, eyebrows raised. "About what, Emily? Can't you see we're busy?" "This can't wait," I shot back, feeling the weight of my resolve. "I know about the trust fund." Silence enveloped the room. My mother's expression shifted from surprise to defensiveness, while Ryan's face turned pale. "What do you mean?" he asked, his charm slipping as fear crept into his voice. "I know you've been siphoning money from my accounts to support your business, Ryan," I said, my heart pounding. "And I know you've been using my inheritance without my consent." The tension crackled in the air as my parents exchanged glances, their facade of control slipping. "Emily, you don't understand," my mother began, her voice trembling. "We did it for your own good." "For my own good," I echoed, incredulous. "You've been using me as a financial crutch. How is that for my good?" Ryan stepped forward, his charm faltering. "You're overreacting, Em. I thought we were family. I thought you wanted to help me succeed." "I was helping you while you exploited me," I shot back, anger boiling over. "You've manipulated me into believing I was the problem, while all along you've been the ones in the wrong." My father's face turned red as he struggled to maintain control. "You're being ungrateful, Emily. We've provided for you, given you everything." "Everything?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "You've taken everything from me. I've spent years supporting Ryan, and this is how you repay me, by stealing from me?" In that moment, I felt a surge of power. I was done being their puppet, done allowing them to dictate my worth. "I'm cutting off all financial support. I'm transferring my assets to a new account, and I will no longer be your safety net," I declared, my voice unwavering. The shock on their faces was palpable. Ryan's mouth hung open, disbelief etched across his features. "You can't do that," he exclaimed, desperation creeping into his tone. "I can and I will," I replied, my heart racing with defiance. "You've underestimated me for too long. I am not your tool, and I refuse to be part of your twisted game anymore." As I turned to leave, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my power, and the road ahead was clear. The confrontation had ignited a fire within me, a newfound determination to forge my own path. I stepped out of the house, the cool air wrapping around me like a protective cloak. I was ready to face whatever came next, to confront my family's betrayal with strength and resolve. The journey to reclaim my life had only just begun, and I was prepared to fight for my future, one built on my terms, free from their manipulation. In the weeks that followed my explosive confrontation, I felt a mix of freedom and apprehension. The weight of my family's expectations had lifted, but the uncertainty of my new life loomed large. I embraced each day as a fresh start, determined to forge a path that was truly mine. Moving into my own apartment was a symbolic act of liberation. The walls were bare, but they echoed with potential, a blank canvas waiting for my touch. I spent hours arranging furniture, choosing colors that reflected my spirit, soft blues and warm yellows that breathed life into the space. With every small decision, I felt more in control, more like myself. Mia, my best friend, became my anchor during this transition. She was a fierce advocate for my independence, always encouraging me to stand tall in my newfound power. One evening, as we sat on my couch surrounded by unpacked boxes, she looked at me with a spark in her eyes. "You've finally broken free, Em. Now it's time to live the life you've always wanted." I nodded, a smile spreading across my face. "I want to focus on my work, help more people in the community, and maybe even start a nonprofit one day." The thought ignited a fire within me, a vision of a future where I could truly make a difference without the shadow of my family's expectations looming over me. Jake, my romantic interest, stepped into my life like a breath of fresh air. He was everything I needed, compassionate, grounded, and incredibly supportive. We spent evenings discussing our dreams over takeout, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos I had left behind. He understood my struggles, having faced his own family issues, and he encouraged me to embrace my independence. One night, as we walked through the city, the glow of streetlights illuminating our path, I turned to him and confessed, "I'm terrified of what lies ahead. What if I fail?" He took my hand, his grip steady and reassuring. "Failure is part of the journey. What matters is that you're choosing to create the life you want. You're stronger than you think, Emily." His words resonated deep within me, echoing the newfound confidence I was beginning to build. With each passing day, I dove headfirst into my work, pouring my heart into community projects that ignited my passion. I organized workshops for at-risk youth, helping them navigate the challenges of their circumstances. I felt alive, purpose coursing through my veins as I connected with individuals who needed support and guidance. But it wasn't just about helping others, it was about healing myself. Each interaction, each success, chipped away at the remnants of doubt instilled by my family. I was no longer the black sheep. I was carving out a place for myself, one filled with love, support, and genuine connection. As I settled into this new chapter, I began to reflect on the journey that had brought me here. The pain of my family's betrayal was still fresh, but it no longer held power over me. I was learning to embrace my worth, to appreciate the strength that had always been within me. The fight for my independence had become a journey of self-discovery, and I was finally beginning to understand who I truly was. One evening, as I stood on my balcony overlooking the city, I felt a surge of gratitude wash over me. I had taken back my life, and although the road ahead was uncertain, I was ready for whatever came next. I was building a new life, one filled with purpose, passion, and the unwavering belief that I could achieve anything I set my mind to. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I was no longer just Emily Carter, the underestimated daughter. I was Emily Carter, a woman on a mission to create change in the world. And with that realization, I stepped into my future, bold, unafraid, and ready to embrace the life I had always dreamed of. Months passed, and the weight of my family's expectations lifted as I embraced my new life. Moving into my own apartment felt liberating. Each decision I made, colors, furniture, was a step toward reclaiming my identity. I immersed myself in community work, pouring my heart into my nonprofit, helping those who felt lost just as I once had. Mia and Jake became my chosen family, grounding me when doubt crept in. One evening, as we shared a bottle of wine, Mia said, "You've turned your pain into purpose, and that's incredible." Jake added, "Your scars tell a story, but they don't dictate your future." Their support fueled my determination to keep pushing forward. Then, one day, I received a call from Daniel Rhodes. "Your parents want to talk," he said. Fear gripped me, but I realized I needed closure. I agreed to meet them, ready to face the past on my terms. At a small cafe, I confronted my parents about their manipulation and the pain they had caused. "I won't be the person you want me to be anymore," I asserted, feeling empowered. Their apologies felt inadequate, but I stood firm, knowing I had reclaimed my narrative. As I left, a sense of peace washed over me. I had faced my past, confronted my family, and emerged stronger. The weeks that followed were filled with purpose and hope. I embraced my work and my relationships, each day a testament to my resilience. Standing on my balcony one evening, I reflected on how far I had come. I had transformed my pain into purpose and learned to embrace my scars as part of my story. I was no longer bound by my past. I was free to write my own future, one filled with strength, passion, and the promise of new beginnings. I was Emily Carter, and I was ready to embrace the life I had always dreamed of.